So I'm going to try to do this delicately because, well, I don't want it to appear like, that I'm anti-Semite, because I'm not. And so many people get in this division area. But so there's a problem because there are people that infiltrate. Like, for instance, I have always said that I believe the Roman Catholic Church took over the England, but really I guess it was the Anglo-Saxons. I mean, the Vatican was a problem, but it was the Anglo-Saxons who came from Rome, after the fall of the Roman Empire, and they changed the culture in England to that of the Roman Empire. So, and then they were like a certain tribe of a Germanic tribe, and then they were like Jutes and Scandinavian. Okay, so yeah, that's what happened there in England. So then that's why there are so many problems. Okay, we just brought the Roman Empire in there. But you have these people, and we live in this time. There's not a lot you can do about it. Okay. Because, you get accused of you're anti this or anti that. And really it has nothing to do with where they come from. It has to do with they don't have good intentions. So when it comes to America, you will get everybody that's going to tell you that we did not start as a Christian nation, and we did. Did the 1776 founders, or were they Christian? They believed in Jesus, but they did not believe that Jesus intervened in things. And they were very higher educated, many of them. So they believed in this, they believed in enlightenment. So they believed in the Bible, but they believed in enlightenment too. So, when you read their stuff, it can go either way, really. So that said, it doesn't change the fact that before them, the Pilgrims, the Mayflower Compact, that was a covenant that was made with God. You don't have to believe in God. You don't, but it doesn't change that fact. Okay? And we're a baby nation. We are a small country. In all honesty, we should not ever have been the powerful country we are. Because we're the youngest nation to be founded, and because we're small. I mean, look at us next to Russia. We're, little. We're little next to China and these big superpowers. The only reason we have had the power, being the most powerful, is because of God Almighty. It's in the Bible. So what these people want to do, and they've done a great job of it, that's why God gave us a warning on 9/11, because that's the first time America ever came under attack in her homeland. And God was giving a warning, saying, America, you better straighten up, because I'm going to do to you like I did to every other country in the Bible. And what he does is, once enough people turn away from him and believing in the biblical God, he hands you over. He did it. It's all through the Old Testament. That's why everybody thinks God in the Old Testament was so nasty. No, he wasn't. He was not at all. He was stern. But it's because people kept doing the same shit over and over again. Okay, so everything he tried to do was keep people from falling into the Baal worshiping, falling into the paganism, okay? Because he was not going to then continue to protect them. Now, we are obviously a country that allows other faiths, okay? Fine. I'm not trying to say that's a problem. But the foundation still has to be respected. We can't just, forget about that. You need to tell your children so that it's embedded in them, so that it carries on. That what makes America most unique is that, regardless of what the founders believed, they did believe that God gave these rights. And if God gave these rights, man's not allowed to take them. That's what makes America different than every other country in the world. What also makes America a country than every other country in the world is we do not have kings. Those Pilgrims, regardless of what the 1776 people thought, the Pilgrims were here first. They made the covenant, and that set the foundation, okay? That's what has to be remembered here. That's what has to be respected. It does. Because it is why, that's what God was looking for, is people that wanted him to be the king. But they needed to be strong in faith and mature enough. And the Pilgrims were. whatever the 1776 founders, I think they had good intentions, I don't think they really necessarily did anything wrong. They tried to stick with the basic values that God gave these rights so man can't take them away, okay? However, once you get too far, you get complacent and too far off track, you will forget that you're a unique country because you don't have a king over you. Every other country does have a king over them. Over time, those countries have incorporated, okay, their leader is a prime minister, but they still have a king that may not be as politically involved, but still is somewhat. We don't have any of that because of those pilgrims. Okay, so people need, so it doesn't matter what any news agency, because even the Christian people will say, well, no, we weren't found as no, we were, because it started there. People always want to start it at 1776. It really started with the Mayflower Compact, okay, which was 1620. That's when it started for God. Okay, so God was protecting us since then, and people pretty much have been faithful to that. God is the head of the country, and yes, we have a president that represents the people, all of that. But once you get too far away from that or get complacent or forget about those things, then that's the danger, because then God will hand you over. That is what these enemies to America have been trying to do to us, is get you to get away from that belief. Oh, don't believe. You weren't founded as a Christian nation. You weren't special. Israel was here before any European or Scotsman was. All this stuff, it's this little stuff to dig at Americans. It's been going on forever. And there's a simple reason for that. It's because America's God's country. It is. America is God's country. Look at the rest of the world, and then look at America. I'm not saying God doesn't care about the rest of the world. Just saying there's a difference here. Like even Israel, I've often wondered, I'm like, why do they have all these wars? Like if God says in the Bible, if you're following me, if you believe in me, I will protect you. You shouldn't be in all those wars. Yet they're always in all these wars, and we're told it's, this and that and whatever. And all I can think is, I'm like, yeah, but America's not. Like, we don't have all that shit going on in our homeland. We don't have all that crap going on. I'm not saying we couldn't. I'm just saying that it seems like, well, why would God protect America and yet they're always at war? You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense because it doesn't align with the Bible. But I think that there's the sect of Jewish, like some Jewish, like the Ashkenazi Jews, like they're from Ukraine. They're Yiddish Jews. They seem to hate Americans. So look, you weren't here first, so get over it. I've heard what nasty things you have to say about Americans, and I don't care what culture you are. You clearly don't love America, and if anything, you're just jealous, right? I think that's what it comes down to, is a lot of jealousy. So just remember that, Americans. What makes you different than everybody else is that you said, no, your pilgrims said, we will not answer to a king. We answer to God. Jews and Arabs descended from Canaanites. So the Canaanites, people know, they're talking about the ancient Canaanites too. The Canaanites in the Old Testament was who God wanted. They were one of the groups that God wanted destroyed. He wanted them run out of areas because they were having babies just to burn them into the fire for Baal. DNA analysis from bodies found at several sites explains more than half of ancestry. After examining the DNA of 93 bodies recovered from sites around the southern Levant, the land of Canaan in the Bible, researchers have concluded that modern populations of the region are descendants of ancient Canaanites. Most modern Jewish groups and the Arabic-speaking groups from the region show at least half of their ancestry as Canaanite. So this isn't a real big surprise to me, because in the Bible, this is the reason God wanted borders, and God did not want them to intermingle, because then they take on the Canaanite cultures. Okay? So, and this is talking about the ancient Canaanites. So there's nothing you could do about this. I'm not going to read all of it. But the fact is, there are people, regardless of what culture they are, that they are jealous of America and they want to destroy it. America, God was your king, and Europeans were here first. Norsemen.